All right, if you're a real estate agent, you know there's one thing that's a massive headache. That perfect listing that just won't sell. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into a specific strategy that's designed to fix that exact problem. The goal? A full price offer in weeks, not months. I mean, does this sound familiar? You've got this fantastic property, right? The marketing is out there, you've done the open houses, and it's just sitting there, gathering dust. It's so frustrating for you, and you know it's even more frustrating for your client.
And this is what leads to what a lot of people in the business call the 90-day problem. You know, it's that point where a really promising for sale sign starts to feel a little, well, lonely. The initial excitement is gone and the pressure starts to creep in.
So, why 90 days? What's the big deal about that number? Well, it's a huge psychological tipping point. Once a listing blows past that 90-day mark, potential buyers start whispering, what's wrong with it? Your sellers are getting anxious and you're feeling the heat. And tackling that perception, that's everything.
And you know that stress just creates this downward spiral. Suddenly, you're getting pushed for price reductions that are just eating away at your client's equity. All those marketing dollars you spent, poof, gone, with nothing to show for it. Your clients, who were so excited at the start, are now anxious and unhappy. And let's be honest, your commission, your reward for all this hard work, it starts to look a little shaky.
Okay, but what if you could just break that cycle? We're going to look at a totally different path to get to sold, one that promises you can get the full asking price without all those painful compromises.
And the promise here is incredibly specific. Sell your listing in 45 days or less at the full asking price. That is a bold claim, right? The whole idea is to get rid of those price drops and the long waiting games by completely changing up the financing. And for you, the listing agent, your role is actually pretty simple. It really boils down to 2 steps. First, you just update the wording on your MLS and Zillow listings to attract a different kind of buyer. And second, you team up with a specialist who handles all the tricky stuff.
So, how does this actually work? What's the secret sauce? Well, the engine behind this whole strategy is a modern twist on an old-school tool: temporary seller financing. The big idea is to open the doors to a much wider pool of qualified buyers who might not be going through a traditional bank.
And this is exactly where a specialist comes in. We're talking about someone like Kevin Young Sr. from Nationwide Real Estate Acquisitions. He operates as a third-party specialist in this kind of financing. And what's really important to get here is that his job isn't to replace you, the agent. No, his role is to collaborate with you, bringing this very specific financial know-how to the table.
Okay, so let's break down exactly what this temporary seller financing is. First off, this is not your grandpa's old-school 30-year note that makes sellers really nervous, and for good reason. Nope. This is a note that's structured for a much, much shorter term. We're talking 12 years or less. And the whole process is managed by professional third parties, not your seller.
And this chart really shows you the big differences. First, look at the term, 12 years or less. Way shorter than the typical 15, 20, or even 30 years you see in traditional seller financing. And the payments? They're handled by a professional servicing company, so your seller never has to chase down a check. But here's the real game changer. If the property has at least 60% equity, the note can often be sold to an investor. What does that mean? It means your seller could get paid out completely right at the close of escrow.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. If you're a responsible agent, the first thing that pops into your head is, what about the risk? What about my license? So let's tackle that right now, because protecting your license is, of course, priority number 1.
Here's the most crucial part of this whole model. The financing specialist, in our example, Kevin Young Sr., is the one who structures the entire deal directly between the buyer and the seller. This is specifically designed to put all the legal and financial responsibility squarely on the specialist and the other third parties. It keeps you and your brokerage completely separate from it. And this whole process is built with multiple layers of security. For example, every single buyer is vetted to be Dodd-Frank compliant. Now, what that really means is they've gone through the federal regulations that make sure a buyer can actually afford to repay the loan. This protects your seller from getting into a bad deal. And this screening isn't done by just anyone. It's handled by a licensed residential mortgage loan officer, or an RMLO. But wait, there's more. On top of all that, the buyer is required to buy and maintain mortgage protection insurance. This is a huge safety net for your seller. It protects their investment if something unexpected happens to the buyer, like an accidental death, a disability, or even losing their job. It's really comprehensive protection.
And don't think this strategy is just for one type of property.
According to the people who do this, it's a super scalable model that's been used on homes all across the board, from a $60,000 starter home all the way up to a $20 million estate. The price range is huge.
So if you're an agent with a listing that's just stuck in neutral, or maybe you're someone who wants to offer your clients a different option right from the start, what's the next logical step to find out more about a method like this one?
Well, the key is to take this from just a cool idea to something you can actually use. You'd want to get a consultation to see if your specific listing is a good fit, and to really understand how the financing could be tailored perfectly for your client's needs and that particular property.
Now, for anyone who's interested in the specific method we've been talking about, here's the contact info for the specialist, Kevin Young Sr. This is your chance to ask all those detailed questions directly to someone who actually does this every day.
So it all leaves you with a really big question, right? Are you ready to turn that stale listing into a full commission check? But on a bigger scale, as traditional financing gets more and more complicated, are we going to see creative solutions like this become a standard tool in every agent's toolkit? It definitely challenges the old way of doing things, and it could be a glimpse into how deals get done in the future.